Ram trucks, built to serve.
Andy Reid is glowing this morning, as is Eric Mangini, our guest, although it's a little more of a smirk. Good morning, welcome to First Things First. Alongside the aforementioned Eric Mangini, you got Nick and Kevin. We got so much to talk about today. We'll get to Andy Reid in a second, but first, is Cam a lock to start week 1 for the New England Patriots? Why is DeAndre Hopkins taking jabs at the Texans, albeit a creative jab? And is it title or bust for Joel Embiid this season? Those stories and more, but back to our top story this morning, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs' dreams of a dynasty. The $500 million man met with reporters over Zoom yesterday to talk about, among other things, his shiny new contract. So right after signing it, Mahomes puts out a hype video, which ends in fairly simple terms: we're chasing a dynasty. So here's Mahomes now on the one specific dynasty he wants to emulate. Take a listen.
I think watching The Last Dance and watching Michael and all the stuff that he did and that he's done and all the success he has, it's just affirmation. It's something that I've always believed in, those things about the legacy, about going out there and being the best player and having the best teammates around me. And it's not about one person, it's about the team. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I think you see that with our whole entire team. As you see, we have a lot of these guys coming back that want to be a part of this. They want to be a part of this culture. They want to be a part of trying to build a dynasty, because those things aren't easy to do. And we understand that. So it's going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication. I feel like we have that with the guys we have in this locker room.
So, Nick, let me start with you. Mahomes is on a path to be great. Nobody's going to deny that. But which career path do you think is more likely for Patrick Mahomes? Tom Brady's 6 rings or Aaron Rodgers' 1 ring?
Oh, that's a great question. And I think the smart money, obviously, would be somewhere in the middle. I think Patrick's going to end up with a nice round 4 Super Bowl championships. But if you're telling me it's going to be one of the 2 doors, door number 1 is that he matches Brady's 6, or door number 2 is that he never wins another Super Bowl, the obvious and I think only plausible choice is door number 1. It would be an all-time sports upset if Patrick Mahomes never wins another Super Bowl. Everything is set up as perfectly as it can be for this Chiefs team and for Patrick to be the face of the next dynasty in the NFL. They are young, they are talented, they have an excellent front office, they have a Hall of Fame coach, they have a division that does not have a single other established team or established quarterback, and we just saw them win a championship under the most adverse possible circumstances. Patrick Mahomes got carted off the field with a dislocated kneecap in week 5. In week 6, pardon me. They were down 24 points in their first playoff game. They were down double digits in all of their playoff games. It was a year where 6 teams won a dozen or more games, and yet they still won the championship. So I understand the hesitation on saying anyone is ever going to match Brady's 6. But if you're asking me, Coach, what's more likely? He never wins again, or he has a run like Brady as a player that is more physically talented than Brady? The answer is obviously that he has a run like Brady, Coach.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for anybody to match 6 Super Bowls, but I have to say I've been really impressed with Patrick Mahomes and the decisions that he's made recently, and even the way that he talks and the perspective that he has. It says a lot about him when he's in the position that he's in to take the contract that he took. And as much as we're talking about it being a $500 million contract, that's not the reality in the short term. It's $21 million a year over the first 3 years. That's the average. Only $63 million is guaranteed. He's the 13th highest paid player on the team this year. But that being said, that allows the Chiefs to continue to maintain players, good players that they have, and the potential to do things in terms of bringing other players in. He had them over a barrel, and he didn't use all his leverage to force them into a situation that would make it harder to compete year in and year out. And that perspective for a young guy is really unique. And I have a ton of respect for the decision he made.
So, Coach, I have a question for you. When Patrick Mahomes is talking about Michael Jordan and the importance of building a dynasty, and Nick, I have something for you a little bit later. That dynasty was Phil and Scotty and Michael, and later, Steve Kerr and John Paxson kind of switched out. The Patriots dynasty is like Brady and Belichick, and you see the stats, like they all turn over. There's just a tremendous amount of turnover. So how do the Chiefs, or how important it is to have continuity within that Chiefs? Like we were talking about yesterday, like this is a message to the guys in the locker room that Patrick Mahomes wants a dynasty. I'm like, yeah, and guys in other locker rooms and guys in college, because most of those Chiefs won't be around if this dynasty, it really gets off the ground.
Yeah, well, the one thing I'll say, though, Kevin, is with the New England dynasty, the importance that Tom played, not just in ability, but his willingness to be coach, his willingness to be unselfish, his willingness to do things that are different than other quarterbacks in his position did, that allowed flexibility to adjust year in and year out and be competitive year in, year out. And that's what I like the most about what I'm seeing from Patrick Mahomes and the contract that he did sign.
Hey, Coach, let me just ask you a quick question. We've had you on the show now for, the last couple of years. And since Patrick Mahomes started picking up speed, you've kept saying all along, I want to see more, I want to see more, prove it to me, prove it to me. Even after he won the Super Bowl, there was a little level. Before we talk long-term contracts and Hall of Fame and all of it, I want to see more. Do you feel like even in this short period of time, you've seen enough that he is on now for sure this trajectory?
Well, no, not at all. And as much as Nick wants to celebrate the Super Bowls that they're going to win, it is really hard. The greatest thing that they did, and the greatest thing that he did, was negotiate a contract that gives the team a chance to compete year in and year out. And I know we talk about the $500 million number, but that's not what he signed. Yeah, it is, but it's artificial. It's down the line. But in the short term, he gives them the chance to actually to maintain talent, to get talent. And he's also sending a very clear message that he's willing to sacrifice in order for the greater good. And that's as powerful a message as you can have in a locker room. And it's like when we talk about Tom versus Cam, and I know we'll get into that later, when your best player is a selfless guy and everybody looks at him and says, okay, he's willing to do that, it's so much easier to get the locker room around him to do the same thing. That is a huge step for the Chiefs.
Listen, the team obviously loves him. The players, obviously the organization. And Coach's point about the flexibility this leaves the team is a great one. If you got to look at this contract in almost three different buckets, in that over the next 3 years, his cap hit will never hit $30 million. Over the following 4 years, it stays around $40 million. And then over the years 8 through 12 is when it's around $50 million. And that's so far down the road, we don't know what the cap will be, and we don't know what different changes the team would make. To Wild's point about the Patriots just being Brady and Belichick, over the totality of the run, that's correct. But they won their Super Bowls in 2 short windows. They won 3 in the first 4 in the very beginning, then they won 3 out of 5 at the end. And in that first 4-year run, when they won those 3 Super Bowls, there was a core of guys who were there. There was Brewski and Vrabel and Ted Johnson and mostly defensive guys. And then on the back end with those other 3 Super Bowls, Brady, Edelman, Gronk are there for all of it. So it's incumbent on the Chiefs, obviously, right now with Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill, and the head coach Andy Reid to rack up another one or another 2 as quickly as possible. And Kevin, the reason I'm so bullish on it is, look at I mentioned there's no one established in the division, but look at the AFC. Here's the full list of AFC quarterbacks who've won a Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes and Ben Roethlisberger. That's it. Full list of AFC quarterbacks who've been to a Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes, Ben Roethlisberger, and Cam Newton. That's it.
There we go.
Yeah. I mean, in the young guys in the AFC Wilds, his biggest rival, Lamar, has never beaten him. His next biggest rival, Deshaun, just lost a 24-point lead to him. So I do feel like the moment is available to them right now to win a couple more in the next 2-3 years, Wilds.
Yeah, but
all right. I'm gonna.
look,
Nick, I'm gonna throw it back to you.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but there's other things that go into play. Yeah, they signed him to a contract. He hasn't gotten any better because he's making more money. Okay, that all they've done is sign him to a contract extension. That's good news, but there's a ton of lessons that have to be learned going into this next season. You need to learn how to deal with success. And there's going to be a bunch of players in that locker room that says, okay, Patrick got paid. I was responsible for this Super Bowl win too. I need to get paid. And that unselfish attitude, it doesn't translate to every single person. Then there's this understanding that you are now the hunted, and every single game people are giving you their best shot. So you better develop, you better get better, you better make strides. You don't get to start where you left off. Yeah, they signed the contract. That's great. It doesn't change anything. They didn't add a player. They just paid a player more money.
Right, which is why it's fortunate they don't need to get better because they just won the title. And the guy, Kelsey's under contract. Hill just got his contract. Honey Badger just got his contract. Frank Clark just got his contract. Chris Jones is the one guy, Wilds, that is, awaiting a new deal, and we'll see what they do with him. But I know you wanted to